So, everybody knows that the world is changing. Everybody knows that the robots are taking over. Everybody knows that the future is going to be very different. But we also share a lot of similarities. We share a lot of things that are common between us that we enjoy. For example, in India, we all have experienced eating a pani puri and it breaking and falling on our feet and spoiling our feet. Or probably you must have experienced that particular thought of looking at your time and putting your hand down and not knowing what the time is. And then you look again and you still don't know the time. And probably you look at the third time, you still don't know the time, and somebody asks you what time it is, and you say, I don't know. You know, I mean, everybody has experienced these kind of things. These are small things that we experience in our life which are very interesting. Like, for example, you're looking at your phone and you're climbing the stairs, and suddenly the staircase is over, but you still put your last foot forward, you know? Everybody's experienced that. And then you continue doing it for a couple of times because you want everybody to know that's your style. So, I mean, we've all felt that, we've all experienced that. We've all gone through sitting in a train station at the station, and there's a train besides us, and we're looking at the phone, and then we look up, and there's somebody moving, and you don't know whether it's that train moving or this train moving, and you look at the next train to see whether which train is moving. We've all experienced this. I mean, these are the kind of things that we've all experienced and we feel connected with. I remember that my grandfather used to tell us stories. Just before bed and after dinner, we would be walking around, and he would tell us stories which had a lot of meaning. I remember him telling us that when he was in the government, working in the government, and demonetization took place. Yeah, it's taken place once before in India. And at that time, there were so many people who came, the businessmen came with 1,000-rupee notes in a big tray and told him that, sir, please exchange this for us because the government could keep any number of notes and keep a commission for yourself. And he said no, because he believed that it's important to have the right set of values, and honesty is important, and integrity is important. And for his father had told him that these were important issues that you should not compromise on. So my grandfather said, no, he will not do that. In fact, I remember my father telling me the same story and telling the same story to my children as well. That, look, integrity, honesty, these kind of values are very important in our family. It's coming out from generations, and it has to be taken care of. These are the kind of small things which are very, very valuable, which make a family, which make a city, which make a state or a country. It seems that these are getting diluted. It seems that there are things that are changing rapidly because of social media. What is happening? What are the things? I mean, what has happened for history all the time? I mean, for example, I'll give you another example. My grandparents probably thought that intercaste is out. No ways. No, we cannot have intercaste. They believed that anybody with the same kind of caste, if they were to get married, the chances of success are very much higher. They were right. My parents were a little bit more easygoing, and they said, yes, intercaste marriage is okay. That's not a problem. But if you don't mind, just check and see if they have the same language and she eats the same food. That would be very nice. I don't have a problem with intercaste marriage at all with my children. I think they should go ahead and marry whoever they feel like. That's not a problem. And I mean, on the contrary, if there's another caste, that maybe we'll get an opportunity to eat different kinds of foods, and maybe we'll learn another language. So I'm pretty happy with them. I'm really worried about my children's children. I'm really worried. Because they are going to say that, please get a human, you know. Get a human to get married, because robots are going to be having feelings, and robots are going to have emotions, and you don't know what's going to happen. Times are changing, and they're changing very rapidly, and we don't know what's going to happen in the future. Again, if I were to talk about history, humankind has always been about wealth and power. Okay, let me turn it around. It's always been about power and wealth. And how was power and wealth derived? Power and wealth was derived by going into the jungles, killing the biggest animal that you could, coming back and feeding your family. So if you were a powerful guy, you could kill a bigger animal and come. Okay? That's what it was. Until humans being lazy, what they decided was, let's rear animals. Let's have our own animals, okay? And then we will take those animals, rear them, and eat them whenever we wanted. Humans have been non-vegetarians for a very, very long time. They've become vegetarians very recently, okay? So they started rearing them, they started feeding them, they started growing grass and feeding them, and they realized that there were things that were growing which they could eat, and therefore they became vegetarian. So that's the first time in history that humans became vegetarians. After that, land has been a very, very important function of power and wealth until now. I think it still continues. But what is going to be the future? For the first time again, about a couple of centuries ago, industrialization took place. And during the industrialization, again for the first time in the evolution of mankind, what happened was that it was not just muscle that was important, but the brain that was important. For the first time, it so happened that man and women became equal. Because in the brain department, I'm sure you all agree, is man and women are equal. So the first time, again, what happened was man and women became equal, and the women could take care of the houses and the children as much as the men could. That's the kind of equality that took place first time. Let me take you back to about another example. The Polynesians in their islands, they used to take small boats and they used to go travel the seas. And they used to learn from the seas. And whatever they learned, they used to pass it down to their children. They used to sit across a fire, and having sat across the fire, they used to tell the stories. They could tell by looking at the waves as to how deep are the fishes. Or they could look at the clouds and say, how far is an island? And they could travel accordingly. And they used to tell these stories to their children, and it used to go down generation to generation to generation. Fantastic amount of information, library of information that was going down through the generations. There is a crazy kind of disruption taking place right now. And along with technology, in all kinds of technology, social media, I think, is causing a disruption that has never happened before. You know, in India, if you were to talk about heaven, as to what is heaven, then the imagination, the superstition is that heaven is cool. Heaven is nice, because we are a hot country. But if you were to go to Norway or Iceland or Tibet, they would say heaven is warm. It's a heater temperature. In India, we would say an air-conditioned temperature. So these are the differences that were there. Okay? You would eat a certain kind of food in India. You would eat another different kind of food in another cold country. So there were these differences which were there. Because of social media, there is a huge kind of disruption taking place. We suddenly find that what I read on my phone and what I believe, there are a million other people who believe the same thing. And therefore, my belief is getting reinforced. But my mother or my father or my children need not necessarily believe this. The kind of thinking, the kind of values, the kind of thoughts they have is reinforced by a whole large group of people around there in the world who think the same thing. We suddenly find that our neighbors speak a different language. We, in a family of 4 or 5 or 6 people, are all speaking different languages. There are different beliefs taking place. And this is going to cause, I don't know whether to call it a conflict or whether I want to call it a change. I don't know what, but this is definitely going to change the world the way it is. Because in our groups, physically close groups that we are there, we are still all becoming very different from the kind of values that we have, from the kind of culture that we have, from the kind of thinking that we have. The other day, my mother was taken to a doctor, and my daughter said that I want to come along. And I said, okay, expecting, like all fathers expect, that the daughter is going to quietly sit over there and listen to what happens. But at the end of the conversation with the doctor, my daughter started asking questions of the doctor, which I was very, very surprised with. How the hell did she know so much about a mental issue? I was very surprised. And I found out that she's fond of thinking and she's fond of reading about the mind issues, and therefore she reads about it. And so therefore she could talk about so much with the doctor that I didn't know. Now, these are the kind of things that you have somebody in your own house and you don't know what is happening. Good, bad, I don't know. I'm sure if there is good, there is going to be bad as well. But look at the kind of disruption that is taking place just because we are on social media and we are talking to people. I'm given to understand that people fall in love on the social media, okay? Because there are a couple of things that they're like, oh, you watch that serial? I watch the same serial, okay? So now we've got 3 similar serials that we are watching. So we are in love with each other, so we get married. And then when you get married, you suddenly realize that, man, except for these 3 serials, we had nothing in common. Okay, so there is going to be a definite issue. There is going to be a definite problem. Right now, you've got 2D that you're looking at. That is your phones or your computers. I believe in the future, you're going to have social media, which is going to be in 3D. You're going to be having wearable technology where you will wear your glasses and you will feel as if the other person is right in front of you. The technology is going to change such that the brain will not be able to decipher whether this is reality or that is reality. I think we've got virtual reality, we've got, which is the other one? Augmented reality. I think more importantly, the word that we need to all keep in mind is the reality check. Because if we don't keep the reality check, we are going to be in trouble. I think we should start realizing that if we can't touch that person, we should be very careful about what we are talking to them. If they're sitting in different countries and talking, we should be very, very, very careful about how we're talking about. I'm not here to tell you that be frightened. I'm not here to tell you that social media is very bad. No, I'm not saying that, because social media has helped us to connect with so many people, connect with our school friends, connect with so many people. I've got a group on my WhatsApp with my school friends, and they're sitting all across the world. And it's so nice to be with each other. It's so nice to be connected with them. But I'm very, very scared that what should be the value system and the culture of a house, the value system or the culture of the society, the value system and the culture of the city that you're staying in, or the state or the country that you're staying in, is all going to get too mixed up and too disrupted from across the world. And I don't know whether that is natural evolution, and that's the way it is going to be, and that's going to be fine. Every change is a little difficult to accept, and I'm finding it a little bit difficult to accept. And the reason I'm here to tell you is that please, please, please be a little careful. The social media is going to change the world. It is going to change the world from what it is today. People are going to be thinking differently. People are going to be thinking diversely. And I'm not very sure whether that is good or bad. On the 4th of December, 2016, after a month's illness, my father passed away. First close encounter with death for me. He was in the hospital for a week. Before he went to the hospital, he was conscious enough to tell me that, please don't take me to the hospital. I said, Dad, you need to go. He said, okay, not more than a week. I said, I promise within a week we'll come back. Exactly after a week, we came back on the 3rd of December on a Saturday. Afternoon, we came back. The next day in the afternoon, my sister, myself, my daughter, my mother, we were having lunch at about 2:15. And my son happened to be standing next to my father. And he called out and said, Dad, he's breathing differently. And we all got up and went next to him. My son was standing there. My sister was standing there. My daughter was standing there. I was standing there, my wife and my mother. All of us were around my father. And we saw him breathe his last. But I know for one thing, I know for certain, that he must have been very, very, very happy that his closest family people were right next to him, holding onto his feet or holding onto his hand when he breathed his last. I'm very certain about that. Very traumatic experience, but we felt very good that we were all there. I have a feeling that if we get sucked into social media too much, we're going to lose this. And I don't know whether we should. I don't think it's a very good idea. I think we need to be careful. I think it is essential that we think before we take that particular step of getting sucked into the virtual world. We need to be there because that's the future. But we need to be careful about not getting sucked into it. That's what I think. Thank you very much.